Be helpful to turn this on. Okay, so where I left off last time is I created this UI for our profile. So in this video, what I'll be doing is I'll actually be filling in some of these components, the username and the profile image into their respective fields. So let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file. It's going to be Cocoa Touch class. It's going to be our profile view controller. All right, and just let's get rid of some of this stuff for the sake of this tutorial. Make it simpler, clean it up a little bit. Okay. So we already have our view controller set up here. So what we want to do first is we want to link our view controller to our newly created profile view controller. So this way we can just switch this to automatic so we can get the code by its side. All right, so let's set up the connections to these elements. So here, we're just going to drag this over here. This is going to be our username, text. We're going to have our profile image view, and we're going to have our display name. Text field. Let me just do this again. Pull this here. There we go. Just gonna get rid of that, put a space there. So what we're going to want to do here is we need to set up a connection to Firebase. So we want to, let's create a variable here. Well, first we need to actually import Firebase. That'll be a good start. So let's say import Firebase. Okay, now let's create a variable to our Firebase. Let me just open this up a little bit more. Variable database ref. It's going to be Firebase reference. All right. Looking good. So the first thing we want to do here is establish this reference to our database. So database ref dot equals FIR database dot reference dot database, that looked weird, dot reference. Okay, open this up a little bit more. I don't think I need this panel or this one right now. Okay, so there's our database reference, and what we need to do is we need to get our user ID. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So let's do an if let the user ID, or user ID is fine, is equal to FIR off. So we're trying to make sure that our user will actually get our user's ID. So our current user, because at this point, if we've made it here, we're already signed in. So our current user .uid, right? So we need to get that into here in order to read in the information from our database. Okay. So within our database, we have, and let's go back and look just to make sure. Delete that. Okay, so here is our database. So in our database, we have our email address, our photo, and then our username. So we have, it's in a folder, or it's in a sub branch of this tree or dictionary as profile. So let's go back. We don't need that now. Come back here. And what we want to do is we need to traverse this dictionary in order to get the values. Now, let me go back to the database. This is the dictionary item. So what we're doing is our authenticated user, which is going to be right now our only user, has a UI. This is this UID, and these are the items within this user's dictionary for a profile. So let's go ahead and do that. So database, our database reference dot child, our path is going to be profiles, and as you see, if I go back here, do I have my console still up? Yeah. Okay. So as you see in our database, we have a child. Well, the root is profile. So for our database, we're going to use the profile. So this is my database. I don't know how many times I'm going to say database, but this is my database. I'm going to be in profile, and then I also need to get the user ID. So the way this works is profile is going to be a child of my database, and then within profile there's another child that's a user ID, or a user unique user ID, and then we're going to go into that, and then its snapshot is going to be this information here. So let's go ahead and go in here. So we said it's profile. So within our database, we have profile, not profile, empty profile, profile. And then within profile, we have that user ID, which is a child of profile, right? And then we have it here, user ID, right? And then what we want to do is we want to, what is this yelling at me about? Okay, I guess. Here we want to observe a single event. So we're not going to keep calling the database. And what single event does is it's good for things like updating pictures or information that doesn't necessarily update immediately. Like, for example, if I change my profile picture, it may take a while to show up, depending on what application I'm in. So let's actually do a single event. If you want to observe multiple events or continuously observe events, then this is not the one for you. And we will talk about that later. So let's go ahead and observe a single event of value with a snapshot. The snapshot is going to be the information within that dictionary for that user. So if I go back, okay, so this is our database. Within this database, we have a child called profile. Profile has a child, which are the users. So we only have one user in this database, so this is the child. So what we did is we created a reference to this database, called its child, which is profile, named profile. You can have multiple different childs in here, but the child that we're looking for is a profile. And within profile, so we have this user ID. So this is our current user. And snapshot is going to return us all of this cool stuff. So let's go ahead. So once we have that information, what we want to do is we want to get the value. So let's do let dictionary equal the snapshot value. Snapshot dot value. And what we want to parse that as is a dictionary. As a NS dictionary. Yeah. Okay. So now that we have all that stuff into our dictionary item, we can use this in order to fill in our label and our images. So let's do that. Let's do the username first. So let the username equal value for key username, and I'll show you where I get that from. Let me just finish this really fast. And we're gonna bring it down as a string, right? Because that's what it is. If it's nothing there, let's just do like that. So I'll show you really quickly. Okay, so this is our username. So I'm grabbing that value. Then what I want to do, so if there's nothing there, what we're gonna do is just say the default is gonna be username. So if there's nothing there, then we're just gonna call it username, and you can name this whatever you want. And that's just basically, if there's no value within that database for the username, what we're going to do is we're just going to put the word username in the labels. Okay, and at this point, since we don't actually have a display name in our database, we will use the username for both the username up here label as well as the one here, the display name. And we can update that later. We can get rid of it if we don't see a point of it. But the next thing that we want to get out of this database is we want to get the photo. So there's a couple steps that we want to do in order to get the photo. Okay. So let's actually, so if let our profile image, sorry, the image URL actually, because it is giving us the URL link to this default image. equals value, once again from our dictionary. And what's the name I gave it in the photo. And we're going to bring that down as a string as well. All right. So now in order to actually, what is it saying to me? Oh. Okay. Value for key string. And this is going to be username as string. And then okay. Okay, so now what we want to do is we need to get the values from the dictionary. So let username equal dictionary for our key user name. And what we want to do is we want to get that as a string. If we don't have a value, then we're going to say username. Okay. That looks like it's happy with me. So another thing we need to get is we need to get the profile picture. So in our database, we have, so the key is photo, and then the value is our URL. So let's do what we did again, but because we can probably have did a if let, but we actually have a default value for that, but we're not going to have a default value for our photo, at least not in code. We won't. So we got to do an if let profile image URL equals dictionary photo, and we're going to bring that down as a string as well, right? Make sure, look at my Firebase. Okay. So what we need to do is turn this string that we pulled down from our database into a URL. So let's do let URL equal a URL string, and we have our string here that we pulled down, the profile URL. So now we have our URL. Now we need to create a URL session in order to grab that image. So URL session, okay, it's a shared, just shared that data task with completion. We need data, we need a URL response. Let's do a URL, and we know we have that, right? And then we want this, we want that to be data, a response, and then an error. Let me just scroll this up because I really can't see beyond it. Okay. There we go. And an error. So give us the data back. We want to know what the response is, but the data is actually going to be the image. That's what we care about, and we also care about the error. So let's go ahead and just make sure that we don't have an error first. So if error is not equal to nil, then let's print the error, and we will go back once we polish, or you can go back, or you can stop here and treat your error differently. Maybe a message or something like that, and I'll go back through it and put up messages for some of these errors. So print error and then return, right? So then we'll be done with that. So if we don't receive an error, what we want to do is we want to dispatch Q, right? And we're going to do it async. Async. So we need to get this image and populate it. So we need to go ahead and let's, if we go into the documentation for this, just so we can understand. Okay, so everything junked out on me at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and I already wrote the code, so we'll just go through it. There's only a couple more lines. So we're using dispatch queue in order to create a thread in order to populate the profile image. So what this does is it creates a secondary thread in order to not use up resources. Like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm getting from that. And this entire block from while we're reading the data from the database, we're basically stopping other processes. And once we finish, we resume the rest of the program. So after we resume, we're going to set our text fields, which are our username and display name, to the username that's stored in our Firebase database. And if we have any errors, then we're going to print out errors. And like I said, this is another thing, and we're actually going to return after this. So, and my computer is doing it on me again. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to hit play. Let's not do that. And then let's return. All right, let's see if we can get this thing to play for us. So we should already be signed in. So we should go straight to our profile, and I'll see if that's the case. Now I'm hoping that there's no issues with my computer junking out and the connection gets funky. So we'll know if instead of cool, I think it's cool user with what's in Firebase. Let's see. While this is doing its thing, I'll just go into Firebase really quickly and see while this is doing its thing. My computer is just all over the place. All right, here we go. So let's go into our console. I'm going to look at the user one more time while this is loading. Okay, so let's see. Our database has cool user. So our username should display as cool user. And this image, which we can find in our storage, which is here, should appear. Okay, let's see if that's the case. There we go. Okay, so we logged in. So it takes us to our main page, which would be our feed. If we select profile, we see that cool user pops up. So here we have our cool user. The next video, we will go over editing this information, as well as maybe add in like a bio or something. I think most Instagram profiles have bios, and then we'll get into loading pictures. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any questions or feedback, let me know. See you guys next time.